Are you ready?
Good news, everyone! I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right! You're always blaming me. So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list.
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What is up, you ducks? It is All in Football on FTN Network. That is Stepmom Lauren. I am Jake Ciely. If you want to check out everything over at FTN, code ALLIN gets you 20% off. And if the Athletic, the waivers are out, the ranks are coming out before Thanksgiving. But if you wait till Thanksgiving and Black Friday, there's a really good deal. So if you just wait for that, although that won't help you with the Thursday Thanksgiving rankings. Maybe it'll come out Thanksgiving. I don't know. Double check if you haven't signed up yet. Being old and getting migraines. Never knew what a migraine was. Never had a migraine, Lauren.
Oh.
It sucks. It's like I have zero sleep. I'm taking a nap after this, maybe, but I'm trying to cram. You love this week as much as I do. Like 5 days of work into 3. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, it's fun. Migraines are no joke, my friend. No joke. Grab yourself some Excedrin and ice packs.
It's seriously
Bad.
that vice clamp, just kind of right? I just touched my head and it hurt. Yeah. So that wasn't smart. That wasn't smart. Just poke myself in the head. Yeah. Belated, everybody. If you want to say it, happy birthday, Lauren, yesterday.
Thank you. I'm 21 again. It's spectacular.
Yes. I'm not going to ask you exact age.
Yeah, we went out to dinner, just to the local watering hole. Because again, I had to work last night until almost 1:00 in the morning. So I was like, I'm not cooking dinner. And Jeff's like, it's your birthday. You don't have to cook dinner. So I went to the local watering hole and they're like, how old are you? I'm like, I'm 21. They're like, you sure? Well, obviously I'm kidding. Ugh.
Yes, but you want to make it awkward. Always put that out there for hey, guess how old the woman is? And yeah, okay, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
I'm proud of my age. I'm 39. I'm happy with where I'm at. Yeah. I just turned 39.
You can just say 31. Everybody believes you.
I know, whatever. I'll be 39. I don't think I look my age, so I'm happy about that. I surprise people. And if I do look my age, don't tell me.
Well, we'll discuss this birthday stuff again next Tuesday, if you get what I'm saying. Let's talk wide receivers, but for a different, because yesterday it was Migraine Monday. I predicted it. I called yesterday Migraine Monday because I was it's headaches, players that are headache. I gave myself my first migraine of all time. So there you go. I didn't know what I was doing yesterday. It changed yesterday's show, but we didn't get to wide receivers because Meany and I were talking about if you have these players, how concerned would you be as the playoffs are getting close? And we started with Lamar Jackson, talked running backs, but we didn't get to wide receivers because this is a short show. So we saved wide receivers for today. It also helps because waiver running backs, very, very, very slim this week.
Yes.
So let's just get them out of the way, and then we'll talk about worries and wide receivers and something else with a W. Wow, I have a bad headache, whatever you want to call it. The whales that flopped all over the field that destroyed the chances for the United States to get a second goal yesterday, but I'm not bitter about that or anything.
Thank you.
So I said droppable. I said go ahead and maybe pick him back up when he got traded. And then guess what? He's droppable again because Chase Claypool went from being the third in Pittsburgh to being the third with the Chicago Bears. Third wide receiver, not even third option, third wide receiver still on this team. Since the last 5 games, wide receiver 69, that is not nice, 4.7 points per game. Is he droppable? So I'm assuming this is as big of a migraine worry as you can get. Claypool's not even on your roster anymore, correct?
Oh, absolutely not. His addition to the Bears has been fantastic for real football, and it's been really great for Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. Other than that, he's worthless for fantasy purposes.
Then let's get a different one, a more difficult one, because this one before Sunday, and even in the game Sunday until a certain point, might have you a lot more worried because now Drake London doesn't have Kyle Pitts around. However, Drake London, over the last 5 games, wide receiver 64 at a robust 5.5 fantasy points per game. He is essentially Kyle Pitts. Like, sure, he might have that one good game and then 4 where he goes to sleep. But Kyle Pitts is gone. Although even 50% of a target share for a team that throws 15 times doesn't mean a whole lot. So if Drake London was your wide receiver 3 or 4, how concerned are you in the fact that, like, would you move on for potential one of the waiver options? You don't have to say any of the names, but is he droppable for you?
Yes, absolutely. He's been droppable for quite some time. And Drake London is a tough one because he did have a better showing. Now there's no Kyle Pitts. I get that dilemma. But when I'm heading into my playoffs or the stretch, even the push to the playoffs, I need guys that are going to be reliable. And Drake London just is not it. So, yeah, he is. It hurts. Like, just close your eyes and just hit that drop button and eek. I know. But you got to move on.
Well, here's another one. And so this guy is actually in the worry section on top of it. So you gave, I'll tell you how I gave it. I gave this person 3.5 ducks. Yeah. So 3 and birthing a duck. You know where I'm going. Yeah. Because Adam Thielen. Yeah. Adam Thielen used to just be like, hey, you know what? Adam Thielen's a great wide receiver 3 because he's going to score you 7 points every single week. But
with the possibility of a touchdown.
And that usually happened more often than it didn't. Mm-hmm. Adam Thielen has just 3 double-digit scores this year. I know. Single-digit marks of 9.7, 8.2, 7.4, and 3.5 since the bye. Week 11 was just the second game this season with without 7 targets. So he's still getting the targets. He still has 7+ targets in all but 2 games. But he's not the Thielen we've talked about. It's not the Thielen we've known. He's not somebody we used to know. Why'd you have to do me wrong, or whatever that song is? Why'd you have to do whatever? So, fantastic Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
Dropping Adam Thielen, 7.2 fantasy points per game he's wide receiver 53 the last 5 weeks.
That one stinks, but I feel like Adam Thielen is such a trap. In fact, I have him in my 5 players to fade for that's coming out tomorrow for NBC Sports Edge. Yeah, he is droppable, and he's one of those traps where he used to be so good. There's that potential, right? We always want he has that. No, he doesn't. And I think TJ Hawkinson just put the final nail in the coffin for Adam Thielen, really. And he, like I said, is going to be a trap. I think one of your league mates is going to pick him up and be like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's Adam Thielen," and then it's going to be like, "Wah wah."
But here's the thing with Adam Thielen: even if he gets a touchdown this week, don't go back to him. Like, just don't.
Right.
Which, although
I
will say this, Lauren, I did Pat's ranking show, and I initially was like, oh, you know what? That seems too low until I realized one thing. And I said, oh, no, wait. Put the opposing defense, the Vikings, on Thursday, play the Patriots. Should be the number 1 defense. Why? Because what time do they play? Kirk Cousins in prime time, everybody.
Woohoo!
That's going to be bad.
That's going to be really bad. Coming off of that, I can't believe.
Watch him throw for 4 touchdowns against the Patriots now.
That would be amazing. I would not put money on it. It's Kirk Cousins. Primetime Kirk Cousins sucks. I understand they need a bounce back game after that atrocious showing against the Dallas Cowboys, and CBS even abandoned the game with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Yeah, no, it was so bad. But the game to do it is not against the Patriots. I have zero faith in Kirk Cousins.
Primetime Kirk Cousins or any game of Zach Wilson.
Oh, good Lord. Well, you know what? I have a feeling that Zach Wilson is not going to be playing this week. So give me, I would take Mike White over primetime Kirk Cousins.
I mean, although it could be Joe Flacco. It would be wonderful if it's Joe Flacco.
Either way.
Because Garrett Wilson would be a top 12 wide receiver again.
Yes, he would. That would be amazing.
Garrett Wilson would be double-digit targets with Joe Flacco. Yes. Michael Carter would be back to being an RB2. Mm-hmm. Not that I think James Robinson would become relevant, but if it's Mike White, I still feel better for Garrett Wilson. Maybe even Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore had some good games with Mike White last year. But
yes, he did.
I so feel bad for I can hate the player and performance and hate the fact that people liked him coming out of college when I sat here and said, no, he's not any good. I'm talking about Daniel Jones. I'm talking about Zach Wilson. I'm talking about a lot of these players. I can still feel bad for them. I feel bad for Zach Wilson, legitimately. I can't imagine what it's like to be an NFL quarterback, especially in New York / New Jersey, and sit there and have the entire world crap on you and then get asked stuff like, did you let the team down in post-game? I feel bad. And he's a kid. He's legitimately a kid. He's legitimately what
23.
you just turned. Yeah, I was like almost. Like I was gonna say, like I can't imagine me at 23 getting like that kind of pressure thrown on my shoulders.
I get it, but I lost all respect for Zach Wilson when he took zero accountability for their 2 yards of offense in the second half. I lost all respect for him.
Hold on. Was it zero accountability, or is it just being so ungodly frustrated with your own play, with everything that's going wrong, and then get asked that question? That was I said this to
accountability.
I know, but I said this to Meanie yesterday. That was a shitty question. That was a loaded.
That was his opportunity to send a message to the rest of his team saying, "I know that I played like garbage," instead of just being like, "No, I didn't let him down. What are you talking about? It was windy." Like
he didn't even go that far. He just said no. He just said no.
He made those comments separately, not in that particular interview, but he did say them, I think, to one of the beat reporters. I can't remember which one it was.
Oh, really?
I think it was Mike Giardi.
I actually missed that.
Yeah, he said it to Mike Giardi. And he was just blaming everything on everything else and taking zero accountability. That is when you can send a message to your defense saying, hey, you are the ones that kept us in the game. I was the one that made us lose, basically, and not put any damn points on the board. So, I lost a lot of respect, if not all respect for Zach Wilson.
Then I come around a little bit. Then I do. Then I am with you a little bit on that one because I didn't see all of that.
Because Daniel Jones put up well over 200 yards of passing against the Jets defense, who is arguably just as good, maybe not better. I'm sorry, Mac Jones. I said Daniel Jones. My bad. One of the Jones. If not
he stinks
better
too.
than the Patriots. All right. And Mac Jones didn't have any excuses for his poor, showing.
No,
whatever.
What I was going to say.
He did way better than Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson blamed the wind, defense. And then
okay, we get it. I agreed with you. Like you already won. You already won the crowd here. Like you don't need to keep pushing for it. Like,
I don't know. It's a thing. I'm vehement.
I was going to say Derrick Henry was the penultimate leader. There is like you just is that the right word? But anyway, point being is like after that loss to the Chiefs, for the fact that the Titans defense kept. You saw in the locker room, Derrick Henry went and high-fived shook hands like what every single defensive player. Told him like, boom, you kept us in this game.
Yes.
Like so. All right, let's move back to what we were talking about here. The migraines for wide receivers. So Devonta Smith, I've been off of Devonta Smith this year, and I felt like I'm crazy pills over here because people are just like, oh, Devonta Smith, top 25. Devonta Smith, top 30, top 25. And yeah, he's got 2 or 3 games, but that's it, 2 or 3. The last 5 weeks, Devonta Smith, even with a big game, wide receiver 52, 7.4 fantasy points per game. He's essentially a non-factor. It's A.J. Brown, and like how different than Adam Thielen is Devonta Smith at this point. Like, I'm not like I think this is the biggest thing. It's like people don't want to make trades, people don't want to drop players, people don't want to do things because they're afraid of looking wrong. And you feel like as soon as you drop Devonta Smith, that's the week he's going to put up 25 points. But as we talk about I'm looking at my waivers right now, and we'll get him all the way down to I saw Mr. Nice Guy even mention him. I would have dropped Devonta Smith 2 weeks ago for Darius Slayton. Like. You're agreeing? Like, am I crazy?
I know, but I do agree with you, but fundamentally, I feel like I shouldn't, right? Because there is a thing that humans go through in fantasy football. We don't ever want to get made fun of, right? So we want to win the trade. We don't want to, drop that player and then have to play against them and then they blow up and everyone makes fun of you. I feel like that is one of the guiding factors in the decision making on not only our roster, but our starts and sits. When really it shouldn't be about that, but it's human nature. It kind of is. So it feels blasphemous to say you should drop Devonta Smith for someone like, I don't know, Christian Watson, Darius Slayton. Those are names that are actually going to be able to produce for you as opposed to just hanging on to name value alone. And it's hard to do. It's really difficult to do.
Okay. Then how about the next one? Who had been quarterback immune, as we said, quarterback proof. We changed it to immune 2 years ago with the good old 2019-20 wonderful world that we lived in. But he was quarterback immune until this year. That's Brandin Cooks. So quarterback immune that he's not anymore and wanted off that team. He's like, look, you're so contagious of your miserableness that I need to get away from it. I'm going to wear a mask and move out of this city. But he couldn't get anywhere, and he actually came back and started playing again. Even with that, on points per game alone. So not just with the time missed, just the points per game alone. It's only 7.7. That's only wide receiver 51. He's not even inside the top 50 wide receivers because of this. So Brandin Cooks, Is he droppable? Or you're hoping this is starting to turn. He's been a little bit more productive, starting to move back towards him. Nico Collins is a little bit more of a threat across from him. We're going to talk about him later. But maybe Cooks comes back and at least gets you wide receiver. Let me phrase it this way, because I see you shaking your head yes for everybody that's not watching the video. Brandin Cooks versus Thielen, Brandin Cooks versus Devonta Smith. Of those three, if you had to drop them in order you would drop them, what would be the order you would drop them in?
Thielen, Smith, Cooks. I am hanging on to Cooks if I can spare it in my bench, of course. If you can't, then you're going to have to drop him. But I am actually waiting to see if there's going to be a little bit of a turnaround, because there was a kerfuffle there. He wanted out so badly that he took personal time when he didn't get traded. So I'm wondering if internally they had a meeting, they sat down, they hashed some things out, and they're like, listen, so you never know what's going on behind the scenes there that will motivate him to be like, okay, I'm going to give this push, we're, on a terrible team, whatever, but I need to make myself look good. So I think that he does have potential, far more so than any of the other wide receivers besides Devonta Smith that we've talked about so far. But I do still believe in Brandin Cooks a hair more than Devonta Smith because of past production, but also the quarterback play, right? So Devonta Smith is having to deal with not only A.J. Brown, but a very mobile quarterback. So that's really tough for me. That's really tough for me to want to side with someone who has a quarterback that relies on his legs a lot, as opposed to a quarterback like Davis Mills, who throws more than he runs.
Let me see if I can get you to come to Devonta Smith on this side alone. Let me make this one more counter argument for you, because I think it's super close too. But
yeah, it is.
Let's say this. The upside for Devonta Smith if A.J. Brown got hurt.
Yes. Astronomical.
So, kind of like a high-end backup running back, like kind of holding on to. You know what Devonta Smith is?
I don't want to drop him.
You
but if
know
I have
who Devonta Smith is? He's Elijah Mitchell. Like, you don't really want to start him, but you could, and he could get you some, and he might even get you a big game, like Elijah Mitchell did last week. And then if anything happened to the lead option, boom, you're golden. So that's where I would go with this one. Last one, Mark Andrews has been hurt and has missed time, but even with the games that he's played, and even with the healthy game this past week, still not even inside the top 20 on points per game. Again, that's points per game. So I'm not saying this Mark Andrews conversation is not to say you're dropping Mark Andrews, to be clear. He's number 2 only to Kelsey. I was just saying it this way. If Mark Andrews has been your only tight end, because you don't need a backup tight end if you have Mark Andrews outside the bye week. You need nothing. But at this point, would you stash a backup tight end like a Juwan Johnson or somebody like that because of that? Like, do you have concern enough to grab a backup tight end?
I do have concern enough to grab a backup tight end. I will agree with you on that one. It's been, I'm going to ignore week 11 performance by the Ravens. What was that? Like, that was just so odd the entire game. As I'm, writing the fantasy blog for NBC, I'm like, why aren't I talking about the Ravens? And I go to the game and I'm like, oh, that's why. I'm just going to discount that one. But even then, he got some targets in there. But the injury is what worries me, really worries me. So I have no problem stashing a backup for Mark Andrews and just hoping for the best. And Juwan Johnson has been shockingly quite productive. Andy Dalton really likes to look for him in the red zone.
In the red zone.
Yeah, in the
red
zone. And when
huge.
plays begin to break down, he starts to look for Juwan Johnson. It's either that or it's Chris Olave. But normally Chris Olave is double covered. So sometimes he doesn't care.
Juwan Johnson's like Dalton. That one year that I was just about to say his name and it went out of my mind. The Green Bay Packers wide receiver, that Richard Rodgers. He's basically turned into Richard Rodgers. 40 yards and a touchdown every single week, and then you end up setting like a top 6 tight end. You don't get a lot of yards, but you just get that touchdown most weeks. I just realized my home country is I'm half Polish. That's where Ciely comes from, by the way. I just realized they're in the world.
Interesting.
Oh, it used to be. My grandfather actually changed it. It used to be Sislakowski. So there you go.
Oh.
If you want to try and spell that, good luck with that. I know how to spell it, but I don't think anybody
My
else in the world
friend's last name is Mikolajchuk, and it's mostly consonants in like 2 vowels.
Well, that's
I still can't.
That's like
spell her last name.
Thankfully, Chris Krzyzewski is not in basketball anymore because he was lying to us the entire time how his name is pronounced.
Like Kyle Juszczyk? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean this is closer
look it up.
at least. All right. So let's continue with wide receivers, and we'll come back to running backs. Normally we do running backs before, but again, we'll save them for the end because I want to talk about wide receivers, but I kind of want to present it a different way after we get through a few. So the number one, I hate I can't even count how many people asked me, can I drop Josh Palmer now that both are back? Because he was the worst player. Like, make trades, like overpay in a 2-for-1 not to have to drop somebody like Josh Palmer's talent, because now we're chasing Josh Palmer back. Like, you need to go get Josh Palmer if he was dropped. Unfortunately, if you're the person who dropped him, you need to go back and get Josh Palmer, because with no Mike Williams, he's a top 20 wide receiver, Lauren.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Josh Palmer is one of those guys that is just becoming, and I believe even with a healthy Mike Williams and a fully healthy Keenan Allen, I still think that Josh Palmer is going to have plenty of value on his own, even with those wide receivers back. And the reason why is poor Justin Herbert has been having to struggle so far this season, not only with, cracked ribs, but missing his wide receivers. He's built chemistry and he's built trust with Josh Palmer, who has earned it. He has done a very good job earning that trust. If you're going to, obviously, I guess that sentence wouldn't really make sense, but DeAndre Carter, you can drop. Josh Palmer, you cannot. You need to keep him. And I don't understand why anyone did, simply because the possibility of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen being back and still not.
Well, because there's a lot, again, you're talking about people who were like, I'll just give you an example off the top of my head, was like, hey, my bench is Rachaad White, Elijah Mitchell, Josh Palmer, and I'm trying to think, like Donovan Peoples-Jones and Paris Campbell, because people are listening to us and people have stacked rosters and stacked benches, and it's like, well, I guess you have to drop Josh Palmer. I don't want to. Like, that's those kind of situations. Or like
Donovan Peoples-Jones. Keep Josh Palmer.
You hate don't. If I knew right now Mike Williams was playing every single game the rest of the season, you said Jake Ciely, Mike Williams is not missing another game. He's going to play every single Chargers game for the rest of the season. Palmer or Donovan Peoples-Jones. It'd be Donovan Peoples-Jones in a heartbeat. Like, it's not even close. You're going to keep
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yes.
See, 100%. I think it's too close for me. It's a lot closer for me. And don't get me wrong.
And he's got Deshaun Watson coming back.
I love him. Michigan boy. I love him. But yeah, I think I would rather have Josh Palmer.
Okay. So, continuing with the top options. Paris Campbell, still out there in too many leagues. Crazy. Even in his worst game, this was his worst game with Matt Ryan, since week 6. His worst game, he still scored 8 fantasy points. That was his worst game. Double digits in the 3 previous. Paris Campbell or Josh Palmer?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think in that situation, I would go Paris Campbell. He's becoming a very safe floor option as well, with that potential of high upside, which is what it is that we want in fantasy anyway, especially heading into the playoffs. So that's a close one, but I will take Paris Campbell over Josh Palmer.
Okay, and we talked about Donovan Peoples-Jones. Just play him. Although I don't love him this week. I talked about this with Chris Harris on his podcast a few weeks ago, and this was back. I forget who was facing the Bucs. But I said, if you look at the Bucs this year, their defense is solidly good. They don't give up a ton to wide receiver 1s, but also if you look at wide receiver 2s, almost nothing this year. I do not, and it's Amari Cooper at home, and the Browns are back at home. Yeah, so I don't. As we just sat there and went through that argument, and I would say that I would take Donovan Peoples-Jones over Josh Palmer for the rest of the year if I knew Mike Williams was playing, which obviously we don't, which is why I'm taking Josh Palmer. But I don't love Donovan Peoples-Jones this week for this matchup.
Tough.
The matchup is tough. But again, look at the Buccaneers and look at what they've given up per game. The second wide receiver almost does nothing. All right, so this is where I want to stop, because now going forward for the wide receivers, it's going to be a different conversation. I want to say this guy versus this guy, whatever. It's Jameson Williams. So Jameson Williams has had an interesting kind of flow to the year. It was, hey, after 8 weeks, after 6 to 8 weeks, he should be back. Then it was like, oh, he's not progressing. It could be longer. Then we started getting floating rumors that he might not be back till the final 2 weeks of the season. And if it's that late, maybe we just wait till 2023 and blah, 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 blah. Well, now he's been cleared to practice. So the clock is already ticking. And Jameson Williams, we know has top 20 upside. So stashing Jameson Williams everywhere you can. But now going forward, the rest of this list, I want to know if you would stash Jameson Williams or you would take the other player on this list. Because the other player on this list, let's just say they're your 4th wide receiver or worse. So you have 3 quality wide receivers. You don't need a starter. Okay? This is where we're going. Jameson Williams or Darius Slayton?
Oh,
Who are you picking up? We're starting high. We're starting high.
Darius Slayton. Oh, darn you, Jake Ciely Lalowski.
Lalowski?
I don't know. I couldn't remember
that's from
what
Monsters,
your
Inc.
last name was.
That's like the little one with the eyeball?
I don't know. That one is really, really hard. If I'm stashing and I don't need a starter, I'm going to change my mind. If I'm stashing and I don't need a starter, I think I would stash Jameson Williams in the hopes of the upside. right?
Okay.
But if I'd already got my starters, I know that they're studs, everything is good, and I'm not going to be starting Darius Slayton over any of those guys, pending injury, of course, then you know what? I changed my mind. I will go Jameson Williams for that upside.
I love how you switch it back and forth.
I totally
Maybe
did.
I could hold on. Maybe I can
That's
get you
really
to switch. Maybe I can get you to switch back though.
Oh, you could.
because-
Just give me 3 minutes and I'll talk myself out of it and go the other way.
So the matchups aren't scary except for one. So they have the Jets in week 15 of
Who's
the playoffs.
I can't. Ooh.
The Lions.
Lions.
So the
got it.
Lions get the Jets in week 15. So that's Sauce Gardner. But that's Sauce Gardner, Amon-Ra St. Brown, maybe Jameson Williams or whatever. But then Carolina, Chicago, wonderful matchups. However, the Jets and Carolina are outdoors where Jared Goff goes.
Yeah.
So does that push you back to Slayton or are you taking Jameson Williams? I like that. I'm trying to get you to keep switching back and forth.
You will, and I will fully admit that that's what I'm doing. Okay. Yes, I think I do want to go back to Slayton now. God, this is so hard. And the reason why is the loss of Wan'Dale Robinson. Obviously, we don't have Sterling Shepard. That is so hard. Okay, I'm going back to my original gut. My original gut was Darius Slayton, and I'm going to do it. However, here's my caveat. If I'm in a keeper league, I'm going Jameson Williams.
Yeah. Unless
How's that?
5
Look how I
keeper
hedge.
dynasty, you're like, so in Barclays at my parents' house and they have up the gate so they can play on the one side and she has to go to the bathroom. She starts doing this hop thing back and forth.
Oh, I saw
in
the
front
video.
of the
You
gate.
put that up there.
Yeah. That's like you with Jameson Williams, like going back and
yes,
forth.
it will be. And then
Back-
I'll stress about it.
If
I
anybody
might
was
sweat
listening
a little
to
bit.
the podcast only, by the way, a little bit for me, that's not me eating on the show. Like Barkley was running up and down the stairs for some reason, so I gave her a treat. In case anybody was wondering what that was, I'm not just chomping on some Pringles out of the can or
Could
anything.
you?
so-
Oh God, that's so bad.
All right.
Like a crunchy taco just goes to town.
So now that Lauren helped nobody with Jameson Williams
Yeah,
versus
no,
Darius
I'm
Slayton.
sorry. That was hashtag analysis right there.
So here's what I'll say. For me, personally, it's a wide receiver 4 at Slayton. If it's wide receiver 5, I'm going Jameson Williams. There's a discrepancy there for this reason alone. We still have
Makes
a few
sense.
more buys left. One injury quickly, you can need the next option. And that's why. But Jameson Williams has top 20 upside. I think Slayton's capped. And I'm actually a little bit concerned about Slayton with no Wan'Dale Robinson, just for what that does to the offense. But that being said, Jameson Williams or Treylon Burks, if you could only pick up one. Treylon Burks just had his breakout game. I put that in quotes because over 100 yards. Don't poo-poo his face. Like, Treylon Burks looked good in that game. I'm not the Treylon Burks guy. I'm the guy that said, hey, wait for 2023 for Treylon Burks. But it was his breakout game. Over 100 yards matters. Treylon Burks and Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams.
Okay. Not even close?
Nope.
Not even a second thought?
Nope. Jameson Williams, please.
This one's interesting because this is now potentially Juju Smith-Schuster. Is he coming back? Is he another week out? Kadarius Toney, is he done multiple weeks? Is he coming back forever? Kadarius Toney was fun for this amount of time. Justin Watson, who ran the most routes of anybody, Travis Kelce included, who is the answer with no Mecole Hardman, maybe not Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and maybe not even Sky Moore that everybody wants to happen. So, Jameson Williams versus MVS and Justin Watson.
This one is another really tough one because I was very impressed with Justin Watson. I'm still going to go Jameson Williams on this one, though. But I don't like it. It doesn't feel right, but I'm still going to go the upside option here with Jameson Williams.
I would too, just because there's a lot of factors here. Again,
Yes.
like Juju Smith-Schuster, we expect back, even if he's out one more week, he's going to come back and be the number 1 wide receiver. Travis Kelce is still the number 1.
Yeah.
Marquez Valdez-Scantling's still not going to go away. Mecole Hardman's going to come back. Kadarius Toney could come back. So 1 week play. I like Justin Watson a lot, but
Yep.
past that, it gets a little shaky. This next one, I tweeted this out yesterday, Lauren, so this is interesting. So everybody wanted the answer for Rashad Bateman. And everybody was like, hey, it's Devin Duvernay. I said pick up Devin Duvernay. It just seemed like he steps in for Rashad Bateman. Here's the interesting thing. Since Bateman's been off the field, Duvernay, 13% of the team's target percentage. DeMarcus Robinson, 18 of the team's air yards. 18 for Duvernay, 24 for DeMarcus Robinson. And if you just want to include all that, say, well, there's one big game that really did a lot of it. How about the yards per route run? 1.15 for Duvernay, 1.65 for DeMarcus Robinson, who has more targets, more receptions, more yards, Was Demarcus Robinson the answer all along? And is Demarcus Robinson a quality pickup that would make you think twice about Jameson Williams, or is this fool's gold?
I think it's fool's gold to a point. I'm still going to go Jameson Williams on this. There are so many weird factors that are going on with the Ravens right now that I don't have any faith in anyone, basically, outside of Mark Andrews. And that is dwindling because of the injuries and because of his production as well. So I just kind of want to avoid that situation altogether. My one caveat on this is I do play in a couple of leagues where we score return yards. It's Devin Duvernay all day long. If you are not in a league where you score return yards, get rid of Devin Duvernay.
For the other 99.5% of you out there.
In my 14 leagues, 10 of them score return yards. Like, so for me,
who are your friends?
We have fun leagues. What can I say? Like, Cordell Patterson had himself a game in most of my leagues. But yeah, like that's what makes it fun. It's tons of points, and I like it so much better. But yeah, so for those, it's Devin Duvernay. But no, I'm staying away from that situation. No.
That's okay. You do you, as you would say. I just don't know. Are you friends with Dante Hall? Is that what it is? Is it you just like all these leagues with Dante Hall? That's just, you have a bunch of, like, he's just like, hey, return yards, 7 points for every 10 yards. Like,
that would be amazing.
50 points for a touchdown return.
No, we don't do that, but it does help give a little boost. We also have very large starting rosters, and yeah, it's fun. It's fun. If you ever want to get into like a league that scores a ton of points and people are relevant, try it.
No, you just made me. I know I do this a lot, but you just made me sidebar real quick.
Oh boy.
For everybody out there, no. For everybody out there, fantasy scoring made sense back in the day. Like, it's very simple. Divide 10 and get 1. 25 instead of 10, you get 1. Touchdowns are 6 in real life, so make them 6 in football. I don't know where the 4 came from for They downgraded quarterback passing touchdowns, which I understand. I don't know where the 4 came from. Like, where'd you pull 4 out of your butt? So this is where I say this, and I come back with, is if you want more scoring in your leagues and you want less variability on touchdowns, increase the points per yards. Very simple. Like, if you don't want a tight end getting 1 catch for 1 yard for a touchdown to equal your tight end who put out 60 yards, which is actually pretty quality for a tight end, guess what? How about give 1.5 for every 10 yards? That's what we do in my home league. The yards are more valuable. Well. Yep. Offsets the randomness of the touchdowns. You get more scoring, which everybody loves to see. Yeah, I scored over 100 points every single week. There you go. So
100% agree. 100%.
Last one. And I mentioned him before when we had the Brandin Cooks conversation. Nico Collins is starting to do things. This is Nico Collins we were hoping to be the number 2. Would you grab Jameson Williams, or would you grab Nico Collins?
I'm still going Jameson Williams here. Again, I don't have any faith in the passing in that offense. I'm going the upside with Jameson Williams.
Okay. I think that one's pretty easy. So moving on from Jameson Williams, these are kind of like these fringe guys. Jahan Dotson, second game back out there, more than Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel gets some rushing attempts, but out there the more Curtis Samuel. Although Heineke has lovey hard eyes for Terry McLaurin and nobody else. Well, Logan Thomas, who might become relevant again.
I love Logan
Jarvis
Thomas.
Landry, relevant again, question mark. Van Jefferson, relevant-ish, question mark. Matt Collins, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham Jr., any of these names far down the list that you're stashing in deeper leagues that you have any interest in?
I wouldn't mind doing throwing a flyer out there on OBJ just to kind of see where he goes, depending. Other than that, the one that was intriguing is Jahan Dotson because we know what he's able to do. But again, that was with Carson Wentz, and Heineke has been named the starter officially. So that one is out of the window for me. I mean, you know how much we both love. We both love that. I think it's great. Matt Collins is interesting, but no, no.
I do like Matt Collins this week with no Darren Waller still and no Hunter Renfrow and given that matchup. So Matt Collins is an interesting, deeper play.
He needs the throwback.
And these are for like deeper leagues out there for anybody that. Did you say the throwback? He needs the throwback? I thought you said he's a throwback.
No. He needs the throw, like his flow.
He needs to bring the fro.
Take the braids out, my friend. You do you with your glorious hair and no shoes and rock it. Be you, Matt Collins, and you will have wide receiver 1 performance.
So there's a backfield we've wanted nothing to do with as we transition to running backs. And we wanted nothing to do with
Matt Collins' hair. Woo!
Well, there's a name that you just said in there that is involved with this backfield. It's the Hall of Famer, Marlon Mack, who's behind Latavius Murray as the only two options now because Melvin Gordon, he gone. He said, stop fumbling. You can take your check and walk out the door if you don't drop it on the way. And then Chase Edmonds got hurt, which was interesting that they pulled the Melvin Gordon thing with the Chase Edmonds injury. Just shows you how much they got frustrated with Melvin Gordon. I'm assuming somebody's going to pick Melvin Gordon up. Yeah. That'll be a story for another day. But Latavius Murray, I mean, I wanted nothing to do with him. I said, don't even waste your time picking him up unless but Latavius Murray, well, yeah, but we were talking about RB3s. So Latavius Murray, top running back pickup of the week, knowing what potential is out. Because Rachaad White is still not 60%. Gus Edwards is coming back maybe this week. J.K. Dobbins still iffy. J.K. Dobbins himself said that his knee's bothering him. It's like scar tissue or something. He needs to play that song. Gus Edwards is still out there. Jerick McKinnon's usable still out there. There's a lot of options out there. So is Latavius Murray your top running back pickup for you?
God, that is such a difficult question because there's a handful of them that if they're available, they should be. For Latavius Murray, I think he does edge out most of those guys. And I really want to say Gus Edwards. I really, 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 really do. But his injury situation is very annoying, and Kenyon Drake can also be very annoying. So I think I'm going to give the edge to Latavius Murray here. Okay.
Would you take Latavius Murray over Rachaad White?
No, I would take Rachaad White.
Okay. Rachaad White going forward, is he a must start for you then?
Yes.
Okay. Even with, well, I was going to add one more thing to that. Okay. Giovanni Bernard is back. And I do not think Giovanni Bernard is a factor any more than J.D. McKissick, and here's where I'm going, was a factor to the Commanders that just frustrated the backfield. Most weeks you were like, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson should be fine, but McKissick just took a little bit enough away.
Annoying. Annoying.
You know what? He's like a fantasy leech. That's what he is.
Yes.
It's just like, let's just pull that thing off your skin. Don't look at it. And see, like, that's fantasy leech.
Visual.
I know, right? He's the fantasy leech. So would you go Rachaad White or this next one? Actually, you know what? I'm going to change this question because too many times, I think, Lauren, and I'm not coming for you, obviously. I don't know why I just phrased it like that. Too many times, Lauren, you need to stop doing this. So too many times in the fantasy world, we've even done it on the show. If you need somebody for this week, it's obviously blank. If you don't, it's obviously this person instead. This one's a little bit different because Samaje Perine, with no Joe Mixon, has proven to have RB1 potential. He's put up RB1 numbers. He's a top 20 running back, but Joe Mixon is out this week, which a lot of people expect. But the question now comes into, I'm not going to say if you need somebody for this week, because if you need somebody for this week, you're not even listening to our answer because you're like, I know what I need to do. Mm-hmm. The question with Samaje Perine is, do you play the block game for other opponents? If your options are Latavius Murray, who could be valuable for the rest of the season, Gus Edwards, who could be valuable for the rest of the season, Kyren Williams, who could be, despite the fact I want nothing to do with that backfield, valuable for the rest of the season, do you pick those options up or do you play the block game with Samaje Perine, who could be valuable if Joe Mixon gets hurt next week?
Oh, that's such a good question because
I ask a lot of good questions.
I do. Oh, okay. Just brush that dirt off your shoulder over there, Jake. So I do love
not dirt. That's how good my shoulder is. They're chips.
Oh, excuse me. Pardonnez-moi. I do love playing some fantasy defense, right? Not DSTs, everyone, but you're playing defense against your other opponents. I will say yes. If you are going up against the dude who has Joe Mixon, then go pick up Samaje Perine just to annoy them and make them angry. If you are okay with your running back situation, you are not desperate for a starter. You've got your RB1 and your RB2. You have a viable flex if you choose to play running backs in the flex, depending on their matchup. Go ahead and play the block game, I guess. But for me, there is something very intriguing about Samaje Perine, and there's something not intriguing about Joe Mixon. And I wonder how much of this work in the passing game that he got with Joe Mixon sidelined, I understand that, will translate moving forward to make Perine a little bit more fantasy relevant in deeper leagues than I think we're giving him credit for. So Joe Mixon can be kind of hit or miss. So many people complain about him because he's a first-round draft pick, but he doesn't necessarily give you that return on investment that you were expecting.
He did that 1 week.
1 week? Oh, gosh, yes. 5 touchdowns. I mean, come on, whatever. But Samaje Perine is one of those really, really interesting dudes that I think that they can work into the offense, especially if Jamar Chase is going to be sidelined for any further amount of time, or if they have him on a snap count, because he is one of those really dynamic running backs. That's a pass catching running back. He made most of his work. 3 touchdowns were receiving touchdowns. So I'm curious how much they're going to continue to work Samaje Perine in, even when Joe Mixon comes back. So I'm not necessarily sure if we're looking at Samaje Perine as a block for other people. He could turn out to be that way, but I have a sneaky feeling that they're going to be getting him a lot more heavily involved to shake up that offense just a little bit and to help out Joe Burrow when it comes to that offensive line as well. So that is very intriguing for me. However, I still have a lot more faith in Rachaad White, and I have a lot more faith in Latavius Murray. That's kind of more of a speculative ad. But honestly, I think Samaje Perine, if that happens, has way higher upside than both of those two.
So after Tennessee this week, the Bengals get Kansas City at home, Cleveland at home, passing matchup, good matchup.
Yeah.
And then finish things out with the fantasy playoffs at Tampa Bay, at New England, versus Buffalo at home. So this is also part of the reason, like, if your trade deadline hadn't passed, or maybe it still hasn't passed, that the passing game of Burrow and Higgins and everything, like potential sell highs, that's one of the worst matchups that you could possibly find in the leagues going forward. So we've talked Perine, talked Latavius Murray, talked Rachaad White inherently. The Gus Edwards one, I think, is also interesting because let's kind of spin it this way and say that Gus Edwards also could be a 1 to 2 week option, even if he is back. But J.K. Dobbins could come back. J.K. Dobbins has the potential to be top 20 when he's back. He has potential to never come back and be a non-factor. So there's this just wide range of outcomes with J.K. Dobbins, but also plays into Gus Edwards. Whereas, let me turn the Gus Edwards to a similar conversation and say, if your options are Gus Edwards or one of the top-end backups out there, do you just grab the top-end backup because you know what they are if the lead gets hurt? Like Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert or Gus Edwards if they're both out there for you.
That's a good one. I think I'm going to go the high-end backup there because if I need someone to start, I'm not going to have any faith in Gus Edwards to do so. So that situation is so fluid. Nothing really set in stone there to give me any kind of faith or reliability on what the production is going to look like. Are they going to be on the field? You just don't even know. So in that particular situation, I am going to go for one of those high-end backups.
Okay. So on top of that, did Jerick McKinnon? Look, you know what Jerick McKinnon is. He continues to get involved. And now Clyde Edwards-Helaire was not only a non-factor, but he's definitely a non-factor now because he hurt. So, last one in a similar conversation of what we've been having. So, Kyren Williams. So yesterday on the Athletic Show, I got Chris Welsh really ticked off. It was fun. So we made him mad because he's like, "What do you think about Cam Akers' use?" And I was like, "Nope." And he was like, "Well, let me it is relevant to a fantasy." I'm like, "Nope." And I was like, you know why it's not relevant? Is because this is what I said the same thing to Pat Mayo. Here's the issue with this backfield. It's very similar to the Broncos. And this is coming from somebody who thought Cam Akers could be a top 20, top 15 running back this year. So let me be clear on that. If you're new to the show, this is coming from a Cam Akers person. The thing is Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson, Kyren Williams. The problem is what do you have there? Not do you just have a committee, but what are the odds when you have 1 out of 3? 67% chance you're wrong. And then even if you're right, how good is the right? And this is why I'm like, I want nothing to do with the Rams. But if you're going to sit here and say, Jake Ciely, I don't care, I'm taking a shot on somebody in the Rams backfield, I would take the chance on Kyren Williams. I would just do it because Sean McVay likes him. Between the tackles, looked good in that game. Cam Akers looked okay. Probably Cam Akers' best game of 2022. But the Kyren Williams I want to ask you is versus, I think we agree on Kyren Williams.
Yes.
But stashing Kyren Williams versus, I want to go through some pure backups only. Would you stash Kyren Williams or would you stash Jaylen Warren knowing Jaylen Warren's okay?
Knowing Najee Harris is okay?
No, Jaylen Warren's okay. Knowing Jaylen Warren, his hamstring. Knowing that Jaylen Warren's not going to miss time himself. So let's say Jaylen Warren healthy or stash Kyren Williams. Where are you going with that one?
Jaylen Warren.
Okay. James Robinson or Kyren Williams?
James Robinson.
Isaiah Spiller or James Robinson?
I'm going Isaiah Spiller. I'd have no faith. No.
Are you
Isaiah
concerned that Joshua Kelly comes back and usurps Isaiah Spiller? I'm not. I'm an Isaiah Spiller fan. And I don't think Isaiah Spiller's been lighting the world on fire, but I'm a fan of Isaiah Spiller over Joshua Kelly.
I actually do. I actually do think that it's going to be a pretty significant factor for Isaiah Spiller when Josh Kelly returns.
So you don't think Spiller Wally Pipped him? No. What are you laughing for?
Wally Pipped?
Wally Pipped. Wally Pipped is baseball. You know what Wally Pipped?
No.
You've never heard Wally Pipped?
I have never heard that before. I was like, is this something from like the 1940s?
Stop the damn show. No, this is like Wally Pipped, baseball player. It was the one where like he got hurt, and then Wally Pipped was the one that did it. Baseball player gets hurt. He's the incumbent. The replacement comes in and plays well, and he loses his job when he comes back healthy because the other player played. He got Wally Pipped. He got replaced.
No, I haven't heard that phrase before.
You've never heard that
Alex
before?
Smith.
Go look it up after the show. Yeah. It's basically played so good that the player, despite playing well...
I've just never heard it.
No, I know. I'm surprised you never heard that before. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm a baseball fan, too. I've never heard that. That's crazy.
How's that rock that you're living under?
It is very sheltering.
It's crushing my soul.
James Cook. You'll live, I promise.
James Cook or Kyron Williams? Because if anything happened to Devin Singletary...
Yeah, I'm going to go James Cook.
Okay. Zamir White. I mean, we're getting down here now. Zamir White.
Kyron Williams.
Okay. I'm just double checking. Look, Fox even linked you to it.
I know he did.
Inside the Yankees had it turned into history. All right. We've only got a few more. You can watch. We only got 2 minutes. You can watch the rest after this. Maybe we get any more of these. Then Deion Jackson.
I'll take Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams. Matt Breida, all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Welcome back. Really? I still
I'm bringing him
Kyron
up.
Williams.
Okay, I'm just bringing it up because it did look like that Matt Breida was clearly the option if anything happens to Saquon Barkley.
And that was so strange about it too is the Lions held Saquon Barkley, which I mean, I guess that all they needed to do was fire their defensive coordinator to light a fire underneath the defense. It was Matt Breida just looked better than Saquon Barkley in that game. It was weird. Anyway, the plays that I watched. So that was annoying. Matt Breida is annoying. He's very fantasy annoying.
As we get out of here, any of these versus Kyron Williams, or is it just Kyron Williams across the board? Here's the last few before we get out of here. Eno Benjamin now on the Texans, Boston Scott, Chuba Hubbard, Dontrell Hilliard, Keontae Ingram, Travis Homer, Marlon Mack, Snoop Connor. Any of those are Kyron Williams?
I wouldn't mind Keontae. Just because James Conner's sustainability, meh. That's the only one that I think I would take stash over Kyron Williams.
Okay. Well, before we get out of here, follow Stepmom Lauren at Stepmom Lauren as somebody gives you credit only for Josh Palmer, which I find super weird. But credit to you, Lauren, on that one. Happy birthday yesterday to Lauren. Over at FTN, code all in, get you 20% off. We'll be back tomorrow for Week 12 ranks. And then Thanksgiving, everybody. Enjoy it and eat a lot or something. No, you're still going to be here tomorrow. We can talk about that tomorrow. Have fun. My migraine
I'm leaving
sucks.
tomorrow, actually, though.
Oh, well, have fun. Bye, everybody.